Hello, 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 everyone. I'm going to give everyone just a moment to come on in. It is another edition of Silhouette of a Queen, and I'm just gonna kind of hang out here for a little bit, just to give everyone a chance and an opportunity to get the live notification so that we can get started tonight. All right, you know how I like to do. I want you guys to leave a note in the comments section. Let me know who you are. Let me know where you're watching from. I love to hear from you. So, again, I am the host and founder of Silhouette of a Queen. My name is Tiffany Devon, and I am a certified life coach and a wardrobe stylist, and I style leaders and influencers in fearless fashions. Hey, Laval, thanks for coming on in. And so we're gonna have a good time tonight. It's been a little bit of a delay behind the scenes. Went through some little turbulences, but you know what? I'm gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. So how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Thanks for tuning in. Silhouette of a Queen. Hey Marie. Hey Marie. This is the last Silhouette of a Queen for 2021. Listen, this time of the year for me, I would say probably like around the month of October, I started doing a lot of reflection, looking back over the year, seeing the different things that God has took me through, the challenges, the hiccups, the falls, and things that I've made throughout this year, and I'm just I'm just excited for the things that God has been having me doing. A lot of unveiling, unlearning, I like to say, and just making sure that I become and continue to rise and evolve into the highest and best version of myself. So I'm always asking God, like, who am I? Like, seriously. Because the things and the scenarios that God keeps putting me in, I'm just like, what are we doing today? What are we doing, God? What are we doing? Look, all of these things, all of these different challenges, like, gosh, sometimes it makes you want to just pull your hair out. But nevertheless, we are here. I am glad that you are here tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about taking up space. And I came up with this topic because there is a affirmation song that I listen to, and it talks about taking up space. And so when I look at just some of the things that as me personally, what I have done going through life lessons and about God really, I think he's calling all of us as women, as his daughters, to occupy space, to take up space. So I first want to start off by definition. What does take up space means? It means to be seen and present, the act of filling or occupying a certain amount of volume. Okay, so tonight's video is going to be very challenging. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you because God is calling all of us to take up space. I want to first start off with this. Shonda Rhimes. I don't know if you know who Shonda Rhimes is, but Shonda Rhimes is a television and entertainment extraordinaire. I just want to read this real briefly. She's the creator of Scandal and Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice. She taps into the concept of taking up space in everything she does, and is part of her mission. She once said, "Plenty of people will decide that you can't do something. Plenty of people will decide that this room is not for you to be in. Your only job is for you to decide that every room you are in is a room that you belong in, and to remain there." I always think that the most important thing to feel like you belong in every room you're in. And I got a question, because as women, a lot of times it is very difficult for us to take up space and occupy a room, because culturally we come from teachings, whether that's in our culture, whether that's in our religion, that has oftentimes has groomed women to believe that we are only good for being a helpmate, being a mother, birthing children. That's it. You're not to be seen. You are not to be heard. You are simply just that. But how many of you know tonight by watching, that you feel like this strong unction in your life, no matter how old you are, no matter where you are, no matter what your background is, feel like this strong urge that there's more to life than what I'm doing, than this, that God is actually calling you more to take up space. So what if you are the person that's preventing you from taking up space? So we're going to talk about this tonight, about the history of women over the years and where we've come from. When I was really thinking about this message tonight and just preparing it, I was looking at the generation of like where my mother came from, my mother's generation, and then my grandmother's generation. So I had, I was able to, have a small relationship with my grandmother on my mother's side. My grandmother was born in 1929. She passed away in 2005. And as I've been going through this journey of unpacking a lot of generational trauma and generational narratives and stories and things like that in relation to where women were, even in my grandmother's generation, to my mother's generation, and to me. And I had to really begin to think about this, because one of the things that my therapist said to me, that she said the 2021 woman is very different from the 1940s and 1950s woman. And it made me go, she's right. Because when I look at my grandmother, who was, the term that we use today is called stay at home mom. Well, back then they were called housewives. There wasn't that term stay at home mom like we say today. So my grandmother had, I think, maybe 10 kids. And so she stayed at home, took care of the kids while my grandfather worked. And we also know during those times, maybe women a lot didn't work outside the home. A lot of women didn't drive cars. They strictly depended on their spouse. It wasn't what we see today, where if a woman was in a bad relationship, she picked up her stuff, took her kids, and left. Most of the times, a lot of women during that time sat there in silence and suffered at the hands of a lot of cruelty. So we look at that, where those were the times that my grandmother lived in. And then I look at the generation that my mother came in. My mother, as I began to really dive and look at her life, I began to see that she was able to take up space in other areas of her life that maybe my grandmother didn't. So naturally, then here I come along, where I'm a little more outspoken than my mother. I was always told to be quiet, shh, don't say that, don't do this, And it's funny now, because back then I used to always wonder, like, why is she shushing me? But I now understand, during that time in the era in which she grew up in, women didn't have too much of a voice. I'm also reminded when I was watching Jennifer Hudson, and Oprah Winfrey was interviewing Jennifer Hudson. And so Jennifer Hudson was talking about how when she played Aretha Franklin in the movie Aretha, how she had to go back and really watch a lot of old films and videos and things of Aretha's life, and really study her life. And so she said one of the things that really stuck out to her the most was that women in the era of even when Aretha Franklin was living didn't really take up space. They were very quiet. They were very poised, and it was like, I can't say that. I can't let people know what I'm really thinking and what my opinion is. And if you were a woman in that age that took up space and was very expressive and loud, you were shunned. You were not to do that. And so she said that was very hard for her to play the role of Aretha Franklin because of who she is. She's very expressive, very loud. Women let you know today, in today's time, we let you know, listen, you're getting on my nerves. We're going to have difficult conversations, where back then they didn't. So, I want to point that out, because one of the things too that you have to begin to understand is when you are a woman that has been raised to not really rock the boat, so to speak, or say anything, we've learned from conditioning that women, we just don't say much. We keep our opinions to ourselves. So I want to talk about how you matter and understanding your voice. One of the first things that will be very important is that you show people how you expect to be treated based on how you treat yourself and based on what you allow in your life. If you are a person that doesn't really like conflict, which was me for most of my life, a lot of times I let things slide that I shouldn't have let slide. So I started really honing and looking at my life that I do have a voice and it does matter, and that I needed to start setting tighter boundaries in regards to my life. And one of the things that I have learned is that in regards to boundaries, people may not like your boundaries, but they surely have to respect it, because your boundaries is for you. Your boundaries is what keeps good in and keeps the bad from coming from in. But we don't want to have our boundaries so tight that we don't let good in either. So you have to know what you need in regards to whether it's a relationship, whether it's friendships, whether it's business, whether it's at work. You have to know what that looks like for you. So for me, I am a person who is big on consistency. I give it. And there's nothing wrong as a woman with knowing that whatever you give, you should expect it. You have to begin to understand in the way that if your voice matters, which it does, you have a right to express it. As a woman, you should never apologize for taking up space. You should never apologize for having boundaries. You should never do that. I'm a very great observer of people, and I will hear when I'm talking to women a lot of times, especially when they are expressing something that they don't like or they're not in agreement with. The first thing they say is, "I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be difficult. I don't no, never apologize for having standards. Never apologize for saying you don't like something. You have a right to be heard. You have a right to be heard. Your voice matters. So how do you take up space and amplify your voice in an area where you were once quiet? Sometimes maybe your voice is too loud, and sometimes you need to turn it down a little bit. You know, it's kind of like it's funny because you can be on two opposite sides of polar opposites. You can either be the person that doesn't speak up enough, or you could be the person that's always speaking and always talking and always giving your opinion and always confronting and always doing this. And sometimes God will say, okay, listen, I need you to tone that down and be quiet just a little bit. I need you to observe. So you have to be able to do that. If you are playing small in your life, let's identify why you're playing small. And this kind of goes into my next point of every woman has an inner little girl that must be protected at all times. And I think once you understand this part of what I'm talking about tonight, this will help you to take up space even more. This will help you to give more amping to your voice when you recognize that you must protect her at all times. And when I say every woman has an inner little girl, every woman does. Every woman has that little girl that's inside of you that if you weren't validated enough, if you were ignored, if you were told to be quiet, you're talking too much, that little girl in you doesn't go away. She may grow up. She may have on lashes. She may have on stilettos. She may have on tennis shoes. She may have on sweatpants. She may be wherever she is. She may be rocking whatever it is that she wants to rock. But that little girl in each and all of us, if it's not validated, we will look for it in other places. And we can look for it in our relationships, in our jobs. It can even affect our relationship with God. Because our relationship with God mirrors the relationships that we have with people. If our relationships with people are broken, chances are your relationship with God is going to be broken as well. Because God created us to be relational. And so being relational is how is our ability to be relational is an image of who God is. So if you're by yourself and you don't really have friends, that's something that you would want to work on. So again, that little girl in us, if some of us are aggressive due to being taken advantage of or watching someone else be taken advantage of, or maybe we're timid because we don't want to rock the boat or not want to be seen at all, you have to protect her at all costs. You have to begin to do some self-reflection and asking yourself a series of questions as to why it is for this little girl. Because this little girl aches to be seen. She aches to be heard. If, like I said, if you were told all the time that, you're too loud, you're doing too much or whatever, sometimes we can grow up to be women who overcompensate. We have to prove that we are just as smart. We have to prove that we know. And we don't even know this. A lot of times we're doing things and we don't even know. We're not even aware. And we end up pricking people around us because that little girl inside of us needs to be healed. That little girl inside of us needs to become whole. And so we really have to begin to take a look at this. I was talking to one of my girlfriends recently, and I really have a passion to really see women revamp, evolve, and change their lives. Like when I do this, I don't get on here on these lives to be cute, to get a lot of likes and followers, although that's nice. You do want to get traction from what you do. But I really, 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 really want to see women evolve. I really want to see women step out of things that have been holding them back for years. And the only way that we can begin to do that is when we surrender and submit to the process. A lot of times, especially for women of faith, we're bound because we won't surrender to what God is asking of us. So we stay bound by old patterns and behaviors and thought process when God is really asking us to give up these things, when he's asking us to really begin to dissect these things so that he can take us to a higher plane. But we can't go to the higher plane and we can't go to the next level in God because we won't surrender and submit to the process. So we know a lot of scripture, we know a lot of spiritual things, but when it comes to executing things in the natural, that's where we get hung up at. When I say in the natural, sometimes, like I said, if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I'm an advocate for therapy. So we must do the work that is necessary in the natural that will produce the results that we're looking for. You will be amazed. You will be amazed. And I'm telling you this from my own experience and my own journey, just even in this year alone, of the things that I've been able to break off of my life just by doing some natural things. Because doing the spiritual work, when we talk about praying, we talk about fasting, we talk about doing those things. Those are the things and the entryway that gives God permission to come into our situation from a spiritual place and give us solutions in the natural that we must execute. But if you don't execute the things in the natural that he's telling you to do, you're not going to get the breakthrough. You're going to continue to remain stuck in the same situation, in the same space that you've been in for a long time. And if you're watching this tonight and you're watching this message is resonating with you in some form of fashion with taking up space, then you already recognize that you're going to have to do some very tough things. I have had to do some very tough things. I've had to submit to the process of some ugly truths about myself so that way I could continue to become better. How do you say, let's practice owning your space. Practice saying no to people. My friend says this all the time. You want to see where somebody stands with you? You want to see where their boundaries are? Tell them no. Tell them no, you can't do that. Tell them no. You will see real quickly who was really rocking with you. Because the people who walk in boundaries and understand boundaries, when you tell them no, they're not going to be upset. They're not. They're going to respect your boundaries. So being self-aware of your feelings in regards to this. Here's another thing. A lot of us are not comfortable with our feelings. We're comfortable with anger, but we're not comfortable with saying to someone, you hurt my feelings. Do you not know that anger is hurt feelings? A lot of women will say, oh, no, you'll never hurt my feelings. I've heard women say that. That's not true. You tick me off first. That's not true. That is rooted from a different place. And if you begin to explore what made you angry and go to the root of it, you'll begin to unpack what it's really about. Because our feelings and our emotions are signposts that let us know, if we explore it deep enough, where it's actually coming from, so that way we can begin to heal it. How do you feel in the spaces that you occupy? Whether that's your family or your jobs. How do you really feel? Do you feel like nobody never misses me? Nobody would ever know that I'm not there. People tolerate me. Do you know how people feel about you? And how do you feel about yourself? Do you feel like you're dominant in situations? Do you feel... Because listen, I want to get to some unhealthy patterns tonight that we've been walking in for a long time. And walking in these unhealthy patterns have produced results, but it doesn't mean it's the best result. So I'm pricking and challenging us in these areas of our lives. Part of owning your space as well is, are you rushing through life? I recognized recently, like I said, I've been going through, a lot of challenging situations that at the end of the day, I just know that God uses everything to help me to continue to grow. And I found myself just wanting to just get through it, just rush through it. Let me just get through it. And I was recognizing also too that I was not being present. And God was asking me to slow down and lean into the uncomfortable moments of my life that I just did not like, or that I just did not want to participate in. And so as I began to really look at that and hone that, I began to really uncover some answers that are very, very enlightening. I want to talk about this as well. I wanted to share this with R&B singer Jasmine Sullivan. She gave a speech recently at the Soul Train Awards where she accepted an award for one of her songs. And sometimes I think we forget when we see public figures, whether that's a leader, celebrities, we forget that they are people just like us. And I could appreciate when she was sharing and that she was uncomfortable being in front of people, and that she had been eating during quarantine. And she promised herself that she would not hide anymore. If she was not feeling her best, this is what she says. If she was not feeling her best, she would not show up. This was her saying in the past, if she wasn't feeling her best, she would not show up. But she did not want to do that anymore. She made her album for women to love themselves no matter what stage of their life they're in. And she closed her speech by saying, "We are in this together." You know, one of the things I could appreciate this too about her when she said that she had been eating during quarantine and she wasn't comfortable being on stage. And the first thing as women too, like when we start gaining weight, the first thing we want to do is just shut the camp down. Let's shut it down. Oh my gosh, I'm not feeling the best in my clothes. But that is the time even more to push yourself to love. That's where the self-love piece comes in. And to know that you are more than just your weight. Because I've put on some pounds too during this quarantine. And I'm just like, you know what? These sweatpants and these leggings have lied to me. For an entire year, you've lied to me. All right, but that's all right. We're going to get it together. I'm going to get it together in 2022. All right. I want to close with this. The ultimate self-care is peace of mind, your mental state, and your physical state. And you have to begin to ask yourself, if you're going to continue to take up space in your life, and if you do not commit to the process of protecting the little girl at all times, protect her at all costs, that if you do not do that, what will it cost you later if you do not honor yourself? One of my friends asked me this question after I was released from a facility. I checked myself into a facility this past summer due to exhaustion. And I was in this facility for an entire week. I had no phone, no ties to social media, nothing going on in the world, just Tiffany and her thoughts. And my God, was that ever like a space in my life that really made me think about some things. And it made me look at how I was living my life and what I was doing. And if I continued down this path, what it was going to cost me. So I was having this conversation with her, and she said, this is how I govern my life. That peace of mind, mental state, and physical state. I have to keep my mind in peace, which means that I'm going to speak in areas of my life when something's not going right. When someone is not loving me in the way that I need to be loved. If someone is not caring for me the way that I need to be cared for. If someone is not talking to me in the way that I talk to myself, that if I don't speak up in this area of my life, what is it going to cost me later? And so for me, I had to recognize that if I don't speak up, it's going to cost me peace of mind. It's going to cost me sleep later. It's going to cost me to maybe be very critical, which is a part that I'm working on within myself. And once I counted up the cost, I recognized walking through uncomfortable situations was worth me walking through being uncomfortable than remaining silent and not growing. And so we have to recognize that in areas of our lives where we're constantly being presented opportunities to expand and to become more of who we are, that we must surrender to that process. We must surrender to the expansion of who God is calling us to expand in at this moment. Do you not know that in the times that we're living in which God is expanding us, that there are going to be some people who can't go where God is going? And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean physical death, although that could be. But what I'm saying is that these will be people who will find themselves actually irrelevant because they refuse to surrender. They refuse to submit to the process of expansion to become more of who God is calling them to be. So I hope that this tonight, that as I close this and recap tonight, that we think about the responsibility that we have as women and where we stand at this dispensation in time of 2021, that God is doing a new thing. And he says in his word, do you not see it? Do you not feel the unction in your spirit? I know you do, because I do. Feel the unction in your spirit to expand, to become more, and to do more. But if you don't bow and surrender to this now moment of what he's asking you to do and asking you to become, you're going to have to strip away your pride. You're going to have to strip away your pride. You're going to have to strip away things that you've done that you've done it for years. The people before you have done it this way. Your grandmother did it that way. Your grandfather did it that way. Your mentor showed you how to do it and it worked out. It's not going to work in this expansion place that God has us. We're going to have to take up more space. We're going to have to amp up our voice in this hour, because that's where we are. And so it's going to be uncomfortable. But you're not going to be uncomfortable by yourself, because there are actually women that are on this path who have answered the call. I love the scripture that says, many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called. Many are called. But few are chosen. The chosen are the ones who answer the call. There's a lot of believers out here in this great old nation of God's kingdom, but who's actually submitting and surrendering to the process of where he's taking us. And so just know that you are not alone. Don't ever think that you're alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. God will always send you people to undergird you, to walk with you. If you need to get some stuff up off your chest, get rid of it. He's going to send people to help you. He's going to send you. So I thank you for watching this tonight, taking up space, owning your space of influence. We all have it. And I'm going to see you all in 2022. We're going to see you in 2022. We're going to do some great things. I believe like this entire year was about shedding. Jesus, listen, I've shed so much. I'm just like, whoo, I'm so glad. But you know what? It makes us stronger. It truly does. It makes us stronger, and we get to really see what all is really inside of us. And then you start to say, you know what? I'm not that breakable like I thought. I really thought I was going to fold in this process, but you didn't fold. All right. Thank you for watching tonight. As you know, I am your girl, Tiffany Devon. I am a certified life coach and wardrobe stylist. I style leaders and influencers in fearless fashions. And you know what? In 2022, we're going to come out of the trenches. All right, we're coming out of the trenches. We're going to be doing new things. We're going to be doing great things. We're going to be shedding off this stuff, because I see you. I see y'all out here. I follow y'all on social media. I see y'all out here doing new things. I see you out here changing it up. Some of y'all are cutting your hair. Some of you switching up your clothes style. I see y'all doing it. Y'all recognize the beat. We are in a new beat. And if you are sensitive to the realm of the spirit, you hear the new beat. So we are part of that new beat. So don't be afraid to show people your new beat. Get out there and let's rock it. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Smooches.